So I'm 19 years old and I scaled my growth operating agency to 6 done-for-you clients and over 50K months consistently, not peak months, consistently in under a year. And in this video, I'm going to be going through exactly how to consistently sign creators as a growth operator. And just for proof, this is from March the 12th, so just a couple of weeks ago, where we signed a 6K setup fee for a client. And I'm at the point in my agency now where I could have signed like a lot of clients and I've had to turn people down because we actually want to focus on getting our clients even better results because I simply make more money from it. And it's less stress to make my clients a lot of money, get wires like this on RevShare every single month, rather than always being on the hunt for new clients. And our average client makes over 100K a month in the agency. And of course, we take a decent percentage of that for ourselves, as you can see. And just a disclaimer, this video is not going to be some random dopamine telling you about some secret outreach message or anything like that. I'm going to give you the hard truth, the cold hard truth and principles that have allowed me to scale from 1 to 5 clients in a matter of months with my agency from first principles so that you actually understand what goes into it. And remember, another disclaimer, none of this, like doing any of what I tell you in this video, will not help you sign clients if you aren't skillful at your craft and good at what you do. You need to learn from someone ahead of you and get their skills in terms of marketing, in terms of sales management. Watch my 2-hour free growth up course if you need to. Because if you can't analyze the funnel properly and point out mistakes, if you can't run ads to a high level, if you can't build killer sales teams, it will show these clients won't continue working with you and it will all be for nothing. And this is exactly what my licensing and consultant clients are doing inside of my offer. But that aside, let's go into core principle number 1, which is understanding the acquisition triangle, which consists of brand, network, and outreach. So every single part of the acquisition triangle kind of feeds into each other, as you can see by these arrows. So having a better brand will lead to better outreach. Doing more outreach can increase your network, and vice versa. So brand will obviously increase the power of your network, and you can pull all 3 levers. And it's very important that you do pull all 3 levers to sign more clients as a growth operator, because they all feed into each other, like I said. So when it comes to branding is your Instagram profile, your YouTube, and the client results that you display. And you can do this even without client results, which I'm going to show you in a second. So you can see for me, I have an Instagram, I've got the blue tick, I've got some client results, and I have a YouTube channel with now 15 videos. But back when I was signing these clients, I really only had 6 or 7, no pun intended, videos on the channel. And just through this social media presence and my brand alone, people can tell when I'm serious, when I'm doing outreach. This helps me build a better network because people can just click on my profile and see client results. And if you don't have client results, use borrowed authority. Use borrowed authority. Break down the funnel of someone like Shelby Sapp, who's doing 5 million a month. Go through her funnel hack her, break everything down step by step. Show the emails, show the follow-up flows of her webinar, show the webinar slides themselves. Break it down so someone can see that you are an expert, even though you don't have clients, and it will have the same effect. And do the same on Instagram, and people will perceive you as someone who is an expert, even if you don't have the results. Because this YouTube channel, I did have a channel before where I did do this kind of borrowed authority, and for some reason started afresh. I probably shouldn't have done that. But my first video got 700 views. It got me an inbound client who paid me 4 figures. And I can tell you that these 7, 8 YouTube videos alone have made me over $50,000 in setup fees and consulting deals. And you can see here $7,000 setup fees. I showed you the 6K one at the start of the video. Rev shares for 10,000 euros, $5,000 setup fees, $3,000 setup fees. This is $3,500, and a bunch of different consulting deals as well from coaches. So trust me when I say, one of the biggest things you can do is YouTube, starting with case study breakdowns, raw talk videos, showing that you're an expert. Because even if your YouTube videos don't, pop off and get views, to be honest, my YouTube videos got lucky, but I had videos which literally had no views. This video, when it first went out, had 300 views, and no one came inbound from it, but I was sending it. When I booked a call from outreach, or when someone in my network referred me to someone who I could potentially work with, which I'm going to get into, this video did all of the warming. They watched it pre-call, and I just led to so many more one-call closes and so many more opportunities for myself, because it also gave me better positioning. People knew that anyone else could see this YouTube video, see my skill, and I could work for them instead. Whereas if you have no branding and no profile, people are like, oh, who's this anonymous guy? He probably doesn't have much motion. He's not working with too many other clients. So that's why it's super important to build up your brand, have good story highlights, have some reels, have some posts. Next, network. Like I said, every part of the acquisition triangle feeds into each other. And the stronger your network is and the bigger your network is, the more opportunities you get. Remember that your brand, like I said here, if you have a better brand, you'll be more likely to connect with more people and build a better network. And when it comes to your network, of course, the main goal in terms of acquiring, if your goal is to acquire clients, now this shouldn't really be your main goal, because you need to have a lot more longevity in the info space, I think. So build your network up in a way that it serves you long term and it compounds over time. But you want to be referral maxing with your network, because if you have existing clients and they refer you, or if you have a setter or a closer, if you have someone in your network that refers you a client, it will be the easiest close you ever get. This 6K PIF that I showed you at the start of the video from a referral, I could have probably charged 10K and he would have paid, right? And I've signed an insane number of clients through outreach, through brand, through referral. But referral is definitely the easiest way, right? But it is probably the most difficult, because you really have to be good at what you do and you have to generate good results. But also, when you're hopping on networking calls, you cannot be needy. You cannot be like, oh, can you please give me a referral? I really need a client. Who do you know that I can work with as an operator? Don't go at it like that, because that is gonna backfire a lot. So you need to connect with current operators, with closers, with setters, don't ask for anything. The principle here is give, and then maybe ask, or don't ask and you'll receive. Because if you're putting yourself in the right rooms, you're providing value, you're just getting on networking calls with people and saying, hey, is there anything I can help you with? What's been going on? What are you struggling with? What's going well for you? And you make that connection, you kind of explain what you do as an operator and you have that skill set. Eventually opportunities and referrals will come to you from doing that and from compounding it over time. Because someone you speak to now who's making 2K a month, they could be progressing, they could be making 20K a month and have a wealth of opportunities for themselves in the future. I've had this happen time and time again since I was a setter and since I was a closer. People that I've known for over a year have referred me business. Then, of course, outreach. Outreach is probably the biggest one, and everyone dives into outreach, but I feel like if you don't nail these two and do the 80-20 for brand and network, there's no point just spamming outreach, because you do have limits on Instagram as well in terms of outreach. Now, my principle for outreach is that evergreen outreach is really only ever very good when you have extremely high authority, if you already have killer case studies and all of that sort of things. I see a lot of people pushing evergreen outreach, but for beginners, I just don't think it works that well, and it didn't work that well for me when I was starting out. So that's why I say custom outreach normally crushes, if not. And if you want to land good growth up clients, remember quality over quantity when it comes to outreach, but also when it comes to actually working with clients. Because for a long time, I made the mistake in my agency of working with headache or nightmare clients, or clients who just weren't paying me a lot of money, that were just horrible to deal with. And it sapped a lot of my energy, my team's energy, and it slowed down our overall progress to the point where dropping them just made the most sense. So don't get caught up in this kind of same situation that I got caught up in. Focus on quality over quantity. And in your outreach, quality over quantity once again. Now, there are two types of ways you can do outreach. The first is a dart and the second is like an RPG. So with darts and with RPGs, the first thing that you need to do is a diagnosis. Think of yourself as a doctor when you go to do outreach. You need to scrape creators, and by scrape creators I mean find the creators, of course. So in terms of who you're looking for, is mainly BizOp creators with probably 10 to 50k followers who are probably already selling an info product or info of some sort where it can be significantly improved. I cover this in depth info in my 2-hour YouTube course. But essentially what you want to do when you find potentially good creators is do a funnel deep dive, go through everything, go through the VSL, go through the webinar, read all the copy, try and check out, go through their Discord, free community, whatever it is, submit an application and see how long it takes to set a call, see if you get any SMS, see if they send an email, go through their sales process, so analyze their setter, see the speed to lead, all of that sort of things, analyze all the content, and see where the gaps are, where they're essentially leaking revenue, and do your research, because your research is essentially going to be the pitch, and it's going to prove that you know what the fuck you're talking about. Because the reason why, there's so many people trying to operate out there nowadays, and no one actually knows what they're talking about. So when you can diagnose a serious problem in someone's business, they are so much more likely to want to work with you. And this is what I've done to sign, dozens and, well, not dozens, but lots and lots of clients from outreach. Now, once you've done the diagnosis, you want to either get a dart or load up your RPG. Now, with a dart, these are obviously still going to be targeted, but you get a lot more throws than with an RPG. So what I would recommend with darts is, if you've been a setter or closer, leverage your experience in niches that you've worked in. So if you've worked for a trading offer, go and find other traders, because you can use that experience that you have closing or setting for a trading offer in your outreach as an operator. So find the mutuals of people you've worked with, find the people who know the people that you've worked with by going through their following, going through the mutuals, and having a big network helps with this, of course, and enter with just like a message. You can even go like a yo message, and I've given you some more examples, but don't enter with any sort of pitch. You this kind of yo bro, do you do one-to-one coaching is super saturated, so probably don't go with that. But you can even offer insight into their funnel, saying your funnel is leaking right now. Your setter took ages to call me. What's up with that? Do you do paid one-on-one calls? Are you the one closing the deals at the moment for your offer, or do you have a team? Asking for coaching is a little bit sneaky. You have to be a little bit sneaky with it, basically, but you want to basically bait a response. And as soon as you get a response, you want to diagnose with basically a loom or a voice note explaining all of this research that you've done, basically telling them why they're leaking money. And you have to be confident. You have to be confident, and you have to know your shit. And this is why knowing your shit is really, really important, so you can actually do a proper diagnosis into where their funnel is missing, if they could be doing a webinar, if their ads are completely dog shit and you've analyzed their ad library. And also remember that, your first message here is not where you're going to sign the client normally. You're going to have to do 10, 20 follow-ups. I've had clients that I've had to follow up with for months, 15, 30 follow-ups, until I've actually signed them. And that's what needs to be done, right? This, you're going to have to follow up a lot, because you're not entering with a ton of value. You're more just throwing darts, sending messages, trying to bait a response. Even just sending yo has a really good response rate, as long as your profile is good and you're not shadow banned. Then, alternatively, we have the RPG, where you go out super hard out of the gate with a loom, and you most of the time we'll be making it custom, like I said, unless you have really, really good client results. And an example message here for your RPG is literally, hey name, saw you're running an offer. We helped X person get this amazing result in a similar niche to you or in the same niche as you. I recorded a loom for you breaking down how we might be able to help you do the same. Here it is. And you can literally see, this is like an outreach message I sent on Twitter to a client that I worked with who paid me $5,000 setup fee. tell them. And it's like, hey, name, I work with X person in this space, helping them with their one-to-one mentorship, doing the sales and marketing side of things. If you're looking to scale, would it be worth me sending a Loom, explaining what I do? Like, he obviously knows the person. That goes back to what I said about mutuals. That's crazy. Yeah, cool. Send the Loom, boom. And this client ends up paying me $5,000. And in terms of, this is proof, by the way. He said, great Loom, recently started the content, blah, blah, blah. And he sent me a super long summary. We had a really good call, $5,000 paid to me. And inside of my Loom, my framework is hook. So hook them in with proof. So this kind of intertwines you. Your hook kind of normally is your proof. Show them the problem that they have. Show them the solution and how you've helped other people. And then obviously CTA them to get on a call. Have a good setup like mine here. I got the Guru Wall. And have confidence and show, don't tell. Show them what you've done. Even if you haven't got the actual client results where you can show it directly, build a Mario board and show step by step what you would do instead of just telling them. Super, super important. And just remember, guys, none of this replaces being skillful at your craft and being good at what you do. Now, on to pillar 2. Be prepared to climb the ladder if you want to reach heaven. This is a principle that I've learned over a year of operating now. And I can tell you, my first growth up clients were complete ass cheeks. I didn't know what I was doing as well, which obviously played into things as well as I do now. But I did launches and I worked with clients who had no potential. Yet I learned from it every single time. I went from bad client to an okay client to a good client, and then finding more and more good clients. And I still had times where I went down and back up to good and bad clients. And I had to work my way up the ladder, because from smaller case studies, every single part of the acquisition triangle grew. The small case studies that I had led to bigger case studies, and it led to me documenting, building more brand, building more network, having better outreach, because I just had, more stuff to talk about in my outreach. And you can see here that this is one of my first big clients. I had so many more shittier clients before this, with Leo, where we ran a huge webinar. We did 120K in 72 hours. It's the first video on this channel. And that case study, without that, I probably wouldn't have signed my client Phil, who we took from 0 to 100K a month in 30 days with purely paid traffic, who then referred me to Alex, who I'm now working with in his Amazon offer, because we've done such a good job for him. None of this would have happened if I hadn't started off all the way at the bottom of the ladder. So be prepared to climb up the ladder. And this is just something that you have to be aware of when you're starting out. And how quickly you can climb the ladder really just depends on your positioning. Because as an agency that now makes good money, I have great positioning and great frame when entering deals, because I don't need the money. Like, we're already working with good clients. Like I said, we're mostly really turning down clients more than anything. And my definition of positioning is how clients see you in a relationship. Because back when I was starting with my first clients at the bottom of the ladder, I didn't charge setup fees, and I was really needy because I needed clients more than they needed me. And it cooked the relationship. I worked for free and I was doing every task myself, and I didn't outsource to a team. And this is the situation that probably a lot of you guys are in, or will find yourself in if you're struggling as an operator. And in terms of improving your positioning, there's quite a few things you can do. First of all is having delusional self-belief and self-confidence, and being so confident when you speak, even though you might not know 100% about what you're talking about. Number 2 is being an expert. So actually knowing your shit. So getting a mentor, having actual knowledge of what other people have done, and having those systems, being able to copy and paste them, like some of my licensing clients do, quick plug, into, on sales calls, you can say this, and you're actually an expert in what you do in terms of scaling info products. Having client results, of course, helps, but borrowed authority and being able to use other people's results is huge. And just general industry knowledge really helps as well in terms of improving your positioning. Of course, your brand. So having YouTube videos, having, a really good Instagram profile will make people see you as more credible than you actually may be. And remember, you should really, I know I say climb the ladder, but it's really only worth your time working with clients who actually view you as an expert and who will listen to you and actually take action on what you say. And these people normally are already selling info. So typically I like to stay away from people who have no offer and we're launching them from scratch, because they have so much to learn, and it just kind of cooks the relationship overall. Now, the third core principle of growth operating and signing clients is remembering the fact that you are entering a business partnership. Remember, quality over quantity. Truly understand your creator so that all of the goals and desires between both of you are aligned. Because growth operating is very different to most other agency models. Your lifetime value is extremely high, and one client can make you $20,000 a month. I have a client who's paid me probably over $120,000 that we did a webinar for last night. He did a 10K day yesterday, and probably, I think, 10K the day before, and over 120K for the month so far. And so he's going to keep paying me because I keep making him a ton of money. And I made a full video on this. But if I'd have been super rigid when wanting to start working with him when I first signed him, and I would have cooked the deal because I wanted like a slightly higher percentage, or I wanted a setup fee, and I would have lost out on like over 100K. Therefore, don't be, of course, make sure your positioning is good, but don't be super fucking rigid when looking to sign a client, especially when you're first starting out. You can change your pricing in terms of saying, okay, you position initially with a setup fee of, 3K, but then you can say, if they're resistant and that's like the biggest barrier, say, okay, we can start without a setup fee, but the first 3K that we make from the offer is going to be mine. And then you still get your setup fee. They're happy because they have no risk, and you still have that lifetime value with the client, especially if they're a little bit more skeptical. Also, if you're willing to say no, I don't know why it says now, if you're willing to say no and turn people down, it will improve your positioning a ton when you do this. Also, another thing, I just keep backing on the value here. You need to really understand your creator, their goals and their desires, and build a friendship and relationship with them, because you are business partners at the end of the day. And I've met multiple agency clients now. I've done a podcast with my client Leo, and it is probably one of the best things that you can do. Really understand them, get to know them, because if you know that your client lifetime value can be really high with the right person, Again, make sure you don't shoot yourself in the foot and not sign that client simply because of a high setup fee or something like that. Have the pricing structure that I mentioned. You can resort to this sort of pricing structure where clients can pay some upfront. You take 1K upfront for the setup and then 3K on the back end, and they pay just after some of the first deals are through. Also, client onboarding process is very, very slept on. If you can get your clients quick and big results and you have a really smooth onboarding process where things are moving quickly, and they just like your communicating every week, having weekly syncs with the client, you will drastically increase your quality of the relationship and the chances of you getting referrals, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when it comes to pricing, this is how I love to price at this point I'm at with my agency. So if we're publishing an offer from scratch, which is really very rare at the moment, we'll typically take anywhere from 25 to 50% of the offer. If we're doing full stack sales and marketing, typically we'll take between 15 and 25% profit or revenue. If it's going to be 25%, it's typically more so profit. 15% is more so on the revenue side. If we do just marketing, we'll do a 4-figure retainer plus rev share, or just sales management, we'll do 4-figure retainer plus rev share. And how we structure these retainers is essentially like this. So we will have the retainer, of course, maybe like 2K a month, and maybe a 10% rev share for marketing. But if the rev share is higher than the retainer and we make our client $30,000 and that 10% is 3K, we will only take that 3K and the retainer is waived. So when the client makes a lot of money, we also make more money. But if the rev share is lower than the retainer, then we still get the 2K, which is the minimum retainer, so that basically we're covered for our services. And what this does is your positioning is so much better with the client because it motivates them to actually do more because they have that retainer there and they have that kick up the arse to actually move the needle forward in their coaching business. So that is how to sign lots of clients as an agency, on the principles that you can use to do this. If you want like all of my stuff, Lead Scraper, and you actually want to consult with me and work with me either as a coach or as an agency, I know there are some links in the description for you. And thank you for watching. Check out my Instagram as well because there's going to be a ton of content coming soon. Peace.